Okay, today we are going to go over cellular reproduction and we are going to ask questions to clarify the relationship of the role of DNA and chromosomes and use a model to illustrate cellular division. So you basically have to know um, that a multicellular organism divides and why that happens. Understand that the results and the reasons for organisms using mitosis, and the relationship between DNA and chromosomes in the process of cellular division. So let's do a little review. First, we have these chromosomes, and these chromosomes come from this DNA. So this DNA, sugar phosphate and a base, is wound up so tightly that they create these X shapes. And those X shapes are chromosomes. So those chromosomes, you get 23 pairs. So you get 23 from your mother and 23 from your father. And if you look at all these other organisms, for example, this pea plant, it only has 14 chromosomes. A mosquito only has 6. So which one of these organisms has the closest number to us? Whoop, we went too fast. It's too early. Just kidding. The orangutan is the one that's closest related to us. Look at this dog right here, though. It has 78 chromosomes. What? So, when you look at chromosomes, so this chart right here is laid out with all the chromosomes. So, chromosome 1 is here, chromosome 10 is here, chromosome 21, that's the one I was talking about in a previous class where I said if you have 3 of those, it's called trisomy 21, which means it's Down syndrome. So you have one from your mom and one from your dad, and chromosomes 1 through 22 are called autosomes. Get in the zone, autosome. I don't think anybody knows that commercial, do they? So, anyways, chromosomes 1 through 22 are autosomes, which code for anything but sex cells. So, like skin cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, any cells except for sex cells. And then chromosome number 23 is either an XX for female or XY for male. And those code for gametes or sex cells, sperm and egg only. Okay? So if I were to ask you, what kind of chromosome would code for my toe, you would say autosomes. Okay? If I say what kind of chromosome codes for a sperm or an egg, you would say sex cells. And sperm and egg are also known as gametes. Okay, so talking a little bit about autosomes and sex cells, we now need to go into what diploid and haploid cells are. So, diploid cells, when you think of diploid, think of double, okay? Double the number. Here, let's grab a little pen right here. So, diploid cells are double the number. So, that would be 2 sets of chromosomes. So, for us, that would be, the number would be 46. And haploid cells would be half the number, only have 1 set of cells. So that would be 23. So our diploid number would be 46, bloop, and our haploid number would be 23. And typically, haploid cells are sex cells, okay? They're being divided into half for sex cells because you will have only 23 in the sperm and 23 in the egg to make 46. Bloop. Okay? Which takes us now to mitosis. Dun, 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 mitosis. Mitosis basically means a cell dividing. So it's a cell that's undergoing division. Um, and cell division is the process by which cells reproduce themselves. So they go, it's kind of like multiplying. So cells dividing are multiplying. That's weird, I know. Okay, so it goes from 2N, a diploid cell, and it gets divided into two new daughter cells. 1N, or sorry, excuse me, 2N and 2N. Okay? So, like your skin cells are going from one skin cell to trillions of skin cells. Okay, so this is really important. Why do cells need to divide? Just think of grrr, okay? To grow, grrr, repair, grrr, and reproduce, grrr, okay? So if we ask you, why do cells need to divide? You say, grrr, grow, repair, and reproduce. So when a cell is going under division, it goes under something called the cell cycle. And this huge blue arrows or part of the cycle is the majority part of the cycle. It's called the interphase. All right? So most of the cell spends its time in the inner phase. Right here, blue, which is composed of the G1 phase, the S phase, and the G2 phase. The G1 is where the cell's getting ready, and it's getting ready to go under cell division, and the S phase is where it's making more DNA. So I think of S as synthesis, so DNA synthesis. So each of the 46 chromosomes is duplicated. So chromosomes, DNA, okay? So it's making tons and tons and tons of DNA. And then the G2 phase, it basically double checks, making sure there are no errors in the DNA. Because if there are, blip, it gets rid of it. And then it goes back and starts all over, okay? So prepares, makes a bunch of DNA, double checks there are no errors or anything needs to get repaired. And then once it stops, or after the G2 phase, it goes into mitosis. Oh, there you go. I just said that. This is a better picture, actually. So the interphase encompasses the whole G1, S, and G2 phase. It's really important that you remember this part right here. Okay? S phase is the DNA synthesis. And remember, we talked about synthesis. It means to make. Synthesis, to make. Okay, so let's go over mitosis. There are 4 phases in mitosis. There's a prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. An easy way to remember this is P mat. My dog peed on the mat. That's the only way I can remember it. Okay. So like we said, mitosis results in 2 offsprings. Often we call those daughter cells. Okay, 2 daughter cells. So it goes from 1 parent cell to 2 daughter cells. All right, and they are genetically identical. That's another important thing you need to remember. And we're going to cover over each one of these phases and what happens during each one of those phases. Okay, so if we were to show you a picture of prophase, it would look like this one. In prophase, the nucleus disappears, so there's no more nucleus, and chromosomes appear. Okay, so see there's no nucleus. See this dotted line right here, white dotted line? That means that's the nucleus disappearing. Okay, and the chromosomes, the DNA is tightly winding up into X's to create chromosomes. And then metaphase, This one's the easiest one to remember. M for metaphase, M for middle. So the chromosomes line up in the middle. Here's another easy one. Anaphase. A for anaphase, A for apart. The chromosomes are pulled apart. And in telophase, the chromosome starts to pinch apart. It doesn't completely divide into two daughter cells, but it starts to create a division, okay? So not all the way. And then it's basically the opposite of prophase. So the nucleus reappears, yay, and the chromosomes disappear. So they start to unwind and turn into DNA again. Do you see that? Woo, no more chromosomes. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about cytokinesis, which is the last phase. And let me go back to that picture. So if you look at this picture right here, we have the 4 phases of mitosis right here. And then at the very end is cytokinesis. What happens in cytokinesis is they completely pinch off into 2 new daughter cells. Okay? So at the end of mitosis, which is telophase, they start to pinch off, but they're not completely 2 different cells yet. Cytokinesis is where they become 2 new daughter cells. But wait, there's more. There are 2 different kinds of cytokinesis that you do need to know. So if you pinch your skin, we notice that it's nice and pinchable, unlike a leaf. A leaf you can't really pinch because a leaf has that cell wall. So if a leaf can't pinch into 2 new daughter cells, what happens, it creates a cell plate right in the middle. All these fibers get created and it starts to kind of cut and divide the cell into 2 new daughter cells, creating a new cell wall. Okay, so when we ask you the difference between animal and plant cells cytokinesis, you say plant cells have this cell plate that divide the 2 daughter cells, and animal cells, they pinch into 2 new daughter cells by creating a cleavage furrow. Okay, they pinch into 2 new daughter cells by creating a cleavage furrow. So this is the cleavage furrow right here in animal cells, which easily just bloop, pinches into 2. Okay, and plant cells, again, they create this cell plate that divides them into 2 new daughter cells. So cell division in eukaryotic cells is controlled by many, many proteins. And there are 3 main checkpoints that we look at that say, okay, the cell is good to go. We can continue to grow and divide the cell. And if there's anything abnormal or wrong, it sends it back, gets rid of it. Okay? When control is lost, though, it's called cancer. Remember, we said that cancer is the growth, uncontrollable growth of a cell. So cancer may result if cells do not respond to the control mechanisms, to one of the 3 checkpoints that we have. So when we talked about mitosis, so before I talk about meiosis, when we talked about mitosis, the cell divides from a diploid cell. Okay, diploid. And remember we said diploid is 2N. And it creates 2 new daughter cells that are genetically identical. So if they're genetically identical, that would be a 2N also. Okay. In meiosis, it's a little bit different. It goes from 2N, from a diploid cell, so having 46 chromosomes, okay, to making haploid cells. 23 chromosomes in each of the cells, okay, from diploid to haploid. So basically, it's saying you, the human being who has 46 chromosomes, you are making sex cells, either sperm or egg, which are haploid, through something called meiosis. I say meiosis, some people say meiosis. Okay? And one more thing, actually, meiosis leads to 4 gametes. Blue. Okay? So in mitosis, we have 2 new daughter cells. In meiosis, we have 4 new cells. Okay? 4 haploid cells. Mitosis, 2 diploid cells. Meiosis, 4 haploid cells. And like we said, meiosis makes sex cells, okay, like sperm and egg. And then offspring produced by sexual reproduction are genetically different from their parents. So you have different genes than your parents do. In mitosis, remember, they're genetically identical. So your skin cells are going to be genetically identical. Okay? So in meiosis, it goes through the similar process as mitosis, but there is meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Meiosis 1 is very similar to mitosis, where there's PMAT, prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. Except the only difference is that there's crossing over, which is when a little piece of the chromosome crosses over with another little piece of another chromosome in prophase 1. And this creates genetic recombination. So there's more variety. So if you look at it like this, doop, here's dad's chromosomes, and here's mom's chromosomes. Oh, I should have done a different color. And basically, they just cross a little piece of this gene goes on to mom's, and a little piece of this gene goes on to dad's. And they cross over, creating a nice little mesh of genes. And that's why you look like who you look like. Okay? And that's set for sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, however, is when the cells reproduce by themselves and they're identical, genetically identical. So sexual reproduction is basically sperm and egg come together and fertilize. Asexual is like mitosis, it just divides from 1 to 2. And it's basically just creating a clone of itself. Okay, so there you go. That was our cell division conclusion. We talked about the essentials, components of growth, development, and repair. Remember, if it doesn't do the 3 checkpoints and part of the cell division, it grows uncontrollably, leading to cancer. And the reason why cells divide is because of GER, to repair, to grow, and for reproduction. Okay, and cells continue to divide at different rates. So, mitosis divides to make somatic cells or autosomes, and meiosis continues to divide to make sex cells or gametes or sex chromosomes. And DNA basically is the chromosome. So DNA is getting recombined from your parents and meshed together to create a different organism like who you are. Okay? So, coming up in biology, this week's going to be a little simple, laid back. You will have to watch this recording. There'll be a link on the course in the plan announcements. Complete the mitosis lab and quiz. Dun dun. Eat lots of turkey and dressing. Optional course readings, of course. All right, this concludes our session. Thank you for watching.